My name is Mila. I am 28 years old, and I live in a quiet apartment in the city. For my entire life, I held on to one specific promise from my father. Since I was a little girl, he would look at me and say, "Mila, don't you worry. When the day comes, your wedding fund will be ready." I believed him. I was the responsible daughter. I worked hard, I stayed out of trouble, and I never asked for much. I thought that money was proof that my parents actually saw me. I thought it was proof that they loved me just as much as they loved my sister, Sophia. But I was wrong. When I finally got engaged to Michael, the love of my life, I went to my parents with happy tears in my eyes. I was ready to plan my future. But my father didn't hug me. He didn't celebrate. Instead, he looked at the floor and admitted the truth. The money was gone. Every single dollar of my savings had been handed over to Sophia. His reason broke me. He said, "Sophia just deserves a grand wedding more than you do." I stood there, trembling, feeling invisible. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't alone. Michael stood up, looked my father in the eye, and said the words I was too afraid to speak. "This isn't unfair. This is disrespect." But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Mila. I am 28 years old. If you looked at our family photos, you would think we were perfect. We looked like the standard American family. My father, Robert, was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a smile that made everyone feel welcome. My mother, Linda, was always well-dressed, hosting garden parties and volunteering at the church. And then there were the daughters, Sophia and Mila. But photographs are quiet. They don't show you who is talking and who is being told to hush. They don't show you who is sitting in the front seat and who is squeezed in the back. I was the daughter in the back seat. Growing up, I learned my role very quickly. I was the easy one. That was the word my mother used. "Mila is so easy," she would tell her friends. "She plays by herself, she doesn't need much." She said it like a compliment, but it wasn't. It was an instruction. It meant, stay out of the way, don't ask for things, don't make noise. Sophia was different. Sophia was the sun, and my parents were the planets orbiting around her. She was 2 years younger than me, but she took up all the space in the house. When Sophia laughed, everyone stopped to listen. When Sophia cried, the world stopped turning. If she scraped her knee, my mother was there with ice packs and candy and hours of cuddling on the couch. If I scraped my knee, I was told to go wash it off in the bathroom and stop crying because I was a big girl. I remember my 10th birthday vividly. I had asked for a bicycle. I wanted a blue one with a basket. I had been talking about it for months. I imagined riding it to school, feeling the wind on my face, feeling free. On the morning of my birthday, I ran downstairs. There was a present wrapped in the living room. It was small. My heart sank, but I forced a smile because I was the good daughter. I opened it. It was a set of books and a new winter coat. "We need to be practical, Mila," my dad said, patting my shoulder. "You needed a coat. And books are good for your brain," my mom added, not even looking at me. She was busy fixing Sophia's hair. 2 months later, it was Sophia's 8th birthday. She walked into the living room to find a brand new pink bicycle with streamers on the handlebars. She hadn't even asked for one. She just got it because she was Sophia. I stood there watching her scream with joy. I looked at my dad. I waited for him to explain. I waited for him to say, "Oops, we forgot yours." He just looked at me and winked. "Isn't she cute, Mila? Go help her learn to ride." That was my life. I wasn't just the sister, I was the assistant. I was the audience for the Sophia show. As we got older, the gap between us grew wider. I threw myself into school. I thought that if I was perfect, if I got straight A's, if I won awards, they would finally look at me the way they looked at her. I studied late into the night. I joined the debate team. I volunteered. When I brought home a report card with a 4 GPA, my dad would glance at it while watching TV. "Good job, kiddo, keep it up." That was it. No celebration dinner. No, "I'm proud of you." But when Sophia barely passed her math class with a C-, my parents threw a party. They bought her a new phone as a reward for trying her hardest. "She struggled so much," my mom said, wiping a tear. "She deserves a treat for not giving up." I learned to be quiet. I learned that my achievements were expected and my needs were invisible. But the one thing I held onto was the wedding fund. My dad started talking about it when I was 16. He had opened a savings account. He would mention it during dinner sometimes. "I'm putting money away every month," he would say, looking proudly at the table. "For my girls. When you get married, you'll have a nest egg. You'll have the wedding of your dreams, I promise." He said, "my girls." Plural, I clung to that promise. It wasn't about the money. I didn't care about expensive flowers or a designer dress. I cared about what the money represented. It meant he was thinking about my future. It meant he saw me as a bride, as a daughter worthy of celebration. It was the one fair thing in our house. Half for Sophia, half for me. I worked through college. I had 2 jobs, one at the library and one at a coffee shop, to pay for my own books and tuition. My parents paid for Sophia's tuition, her apartment, her car, and her sorority fees. Sophia just isn't cut out for working while studying, my dad told me when I asked for help with rent. You're strong, Mila. You can handle it. We're proud of your independence. They used my strength against me. Because I could survive without them, they decided I should survive without them. But in the back of my mind, I always thought, it's okay. I'm working hard now, but one day, when I get married, Dad will hand me that check. He will smile and say, this is for you. And everything will be balanced. I was a fool. I met Michael at the hospital where I worked as a nurse. He was a physical therapist. The first time I saw him, he was helping an elderly patient learn to walk again. He was so patient, so gentle. He wasn't loud or flashy like the boys Sophia dated. He was steady. When he asked me out, I almost said no. I wasn't used to being chosen. I was used to being the background character. But Michael didn't treat me like a background character. He listened to me. He asked me questions about my day, my thoughts, my favorite books. For the first few months, I kept him away from my family. I was afraid. I was afraid they would ruin it. I was afraid they would make him feel small, or worse, that Sophia would decide she wanted him. But eventually, I had to introduce them. We went to dinner at my parents' house. Within 10 minutes, Sophia had taken over the conversation. She talked about her modeling gigs, which were mostly unpaid Instagram posts, her hair, her new car. My parents hung on her every word. Did you hear that, Michael? My mom asked, beaming. Sophia was scouted at the mall. Michael smiled politely, but he didn't look at Sophia. He looked at me. He reached under the table and squeezed my hand. That's nice, Michael said. Mila was telling me she was promoted to head nurse on her floor. That's incredible responsibility. The table went silent. My mother blinked, as if she had forgotten I was there. Oh, yes. That's nice too, Mom said, and immediately turned back to Sophia. So tell us about the photo shoot. On the drive home, Michael was quiet. Is it always like that? He asked. Like what? Like you're invisible, he said. His voice wasn't angry, just sad. Mila, you're the most interesting person at that table, and they treat you like furniture. Hearing him say it made me cry. It was the first time someone had validated my pain. Michael didn't tell me to get over it. He didn't tell me I was being sensitive. He told me I deserved better. 2 years later, Michael proposed. It was perfect. No crowds, no fireworks. Just us on a quiet hike overlooking the lake where we had our first picnic. He got down on one knee and held out a simple, beautiful diamond ring. Mila, he said, I want to be the family you never had. I want to be the one who puts you first. Always. I said yes. I felt light. I felt like I was finally stepping out of the shadows. We called my parents that night. Oh wow, my mom said. She sounded like I had told her I bought a new toaster. That's good news. Let me put your dad on. Dad was a little better. Congrats, kiddo. Michael is a good guy. We're coming over this weekend, I said, trying to keep the excitement in my voice. We want to talk about dates and, the plans. I was hinting at the fund. I wanted to know what our budget was. But before the weekend arrived, everything shifted. I posted a picture of my ring on social media. I was happy. For 24 hours, I was the center of attention. Sophia couldn't handle it. 3 days after my engagement, Sophia announced hers. She had been dating Blake Harrison for only 4 months. Blake was nice enough, but he came from serious money. His family owned a chain of car dealerships. He drove a Porsche. He wore watches that cost more than my car. Sophia posted a photo of a ring that was 3 times the size of mine. So excited to marry my soulmate, the caption read. Double wedding year, my stomach turned. She couldn't let me have this one moment. When we went to my parents' house that weekend, the Mila engagement dinner had turned into the Sophia celebration. Sophia had bridal magazines spread all over the coffee table. I want the plaza, Sophia was saying as we walked in. Or maybe a destination wedding in Italy. Blake says his parents will help, but we need to match their contribution to look good. My mom was nodding enthusiastically. Of course, honey, you need to make a statement. You're marrying into the Harrison family. We have to look the part. I sat on the couch next to Michael. No one asked to see my ring. No one asked about our date. Dad, I said. He was standing by the window, looking out at the yard. He looked tired, he was avoiding my eyes. Dad, I said again, louder this time. Michael and I were looking at venues. We found a lovely barn just outside the city. It's reasonable. We were wondering about the budget. The room went quiet. Sophia looked up from her magazine, a bored expression on her face. Oh, Mila, Mom sighed. Can't we talk about that later? We're trying to figure out Sophia's color scheme. No, Michael spoke up. His voice was calm but firm. We came here to discuss Mila's wedding. You've told her for years that there is a fund. We need to know what we're working with so we can plan accordingly. My father turned around. He looked trapped. He rubbed the back of his neck. Let's have dinner, Dad said. We can talk about money at the table. I had a bad feeling. A cold, heavy stone settled in my stomach. I looked at Michael. He gave me a reassuring nod, but I could see his jaw was tight. He sensed it too. We sat at the dining room table. My mother had made a roast, Sophia's favorite. The china clattered as we ate. The air was thick with tension. Sophia was oblivious. She chattered on about flowers. I need orchids, she said. Imported ones, and I want a 10-tier cake. That sounds expensive, Michael said dryly. Sophia rolled her eyes. Quality costs money, Michael. Not everyone wants a barn wedding. She smirked at me. No offense, Mila. I'm sure your barn will be rustic, but I need elegance. The barn is beautiful, I said softly. And it's what we can afford, or it's what we hope we can afford. I looked at my father. He was pushing peas around his plate. Dad, I said, please just tell us, how much is in the fund? We don't need the exact number right this second, but a ballpark. Is it 10,000? 15? I knew he had been saving for 20 years. I assumed there was a decent amount. My father put his fork down. The sound rang out like a gunshot in the quiet room. There isn't a fund, he said. He didn't look at me. He looked at the tablecloth. I blinked. I didn't understand. What do you mean you stopped saving? No, he said. I saved. There was about $50,000. 50,000. My heart leaped. That was so much money. That was enough for both of us to have wonderful weddings. Okay, I said, breathing out. So 25,000 each. Dad, that's amazing. That covers everything we— No, he interrupted me. He finally looked up. His eyes were sad, but there was a hardness in them too, a defensiveness. Mila, the money isn't there anymore. We gave it to Sophia. The room stopped spinning. I felt like all the oxygen had been sucked out of the house. What? I whispered. All of it. She needs it, my mother jumped in. Her voice was sharp, aggressive. She was already on the attack. Sophia is marrying a Harrison. Do you understand the pressure that puts on us? We can't look cheap. We have to pay for the engagement party, the dress, the venue deposit. It's very expensive. But that was my money too, I said. My voice was trembling. You promised. Since I was a little girl, you said, Mila, this is for you. Plans change, Dad said. He sounded annoyed now, like I was being unreasonable. Sophia's wedding is going to be a society event. Yours is just a party. You're doing a small thing. You don't need $25,000 for a barn, Mila. So I get nothing? I asked. Zero. Sophia took a sip of her wine. She looked bored. God, Mila, don't be so selfish. You have a job. You can save up. I don't work, remember. How am I supposed to pay for a wedding? You could get a job, Michael said. Sophia laughed. Excuse me. You heard me, Michael said. He hadn't touched his food. He was staring at my parents with a look of pure disgust. You just told your daughter that you stole her life savings to fund a party for her sister because you think her sister is more important. Watch your tone, my father snapped. This is family business. It is family business, Michael said. He stood up. He was tall, and in that moment he looked like a giant. And the business is corrupt. You looked Mila in the eye and lied to her for decades. And now you're telling her that she doesn't deserve a dime because her wedding isn't fancy enough for your ego. She's the older sister, Mom yelled. She should want to help Sophia. She should be happy that Sophia made such a good catch. I sat there, frozen. I couldn't move. I felt like I was 10 years old again, watching Sophia ride the pink bike while I held a stack of books. She deserves it more. That was the subtext of everything they said. She is the main character. You are the help. We're leaving, Michael said. He reached down and took my hand. Come on, Mila. If you walk out that door, my dad threatened, pointing a finger at me, don't expect us to help you with anything. I looked at my dad. I looked at the man who had promised to protect me. You already aren't helping me, Dad, I whispered. You never have. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but Michael's grip was strong. Bye, Mila, Sophia called out, mocking me. Try not to cry about it. We walked out the front door and didn't look back. The car ride home was silent, but it wasn't an empty silence. It was a heavy, suffocating silence. I stared out the window at the passing streetlights, tears streaming down my face. I didn't sob, I just leaked. It felt like my heart was bleeding out. When we got to our apartment, I collapsed on the bed. I didn't even take off my shoes. Michael sat beside me and rubbed my back. He didn't say, "It will be okay." He didn't lie. "I'm so sorry, Mila," he whispered. "I'm so sorry they are like this." I turned off my phone, but before I did, I saw the notifications piling up. "Mom, you embarrassed us in front of Michael. How dare you make us look like bad parents? Dad, stop being dramatic. We can discuss a small loan for your dress later, but you need to apologize to your sister first. Sophia, you are so jealous it's pathetic. Grow up." I didn't reply. I turned the phone off and shoved it in the drawer. For 2 days, I didn't get out of bed. I called in sick to work. I felt foolish. I felt stupid for believing them. How could I have been so blind? I had spent my whole life trying to be the good one so that one day they would reward me. But the reward was never coming. The game was rigged. On the 3rd day, I woke up to the smell of coffee. I walked into the kitchen in my pajamas, my eyes puffy. Michael was sitting at the table. He had a notepad, a calculator, and a stack of printed papers. "Sit down," he said gently. He poured me a cup of coffee. "What is this?" I asked, rubbing my eyes. "This," he said, tapping the paper, "is our wedding." I looked down. He had made a spreadsheet. "I went through our finances," Michael said. "I looked at our savings. I looked at the venue costs. Mila, we can do this." "We can't," I said, my voice cracking. "We don't have $25,000. "We don't need it," he said. "I found a different caterer, a local barbecue place that has amazing reviews, much cheaper. I found a florist who does wholesale, and my cousin is a DJ, remember? He said he'd do it for free as a gift." He looked at me with such intensity that I stopped breathing. "We are going to have the wedding you deserve," he said. "And the best part, we don't owe them a single thing, not a penny, which means they have no say, no control." I looked at the numbers. It was tight. We would have to cut a lot of corners. No videographer, a smaller guest list, a sample sale dress. But as I looked at Michael's handwriting, his careful notes, his effort, I felt something shift in my chest. My parents had thrown me away. But this man was fighting for me. "Without them?" I asked. "Without them," Michael confirmed. "Unless you want them there, but financially, we are independent." I took a deep breath. The heavy stone in my stomach began to lighten. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." That week, I went back to work with a new energy. I stopped waiting for my parents to call and apologize. I knew they wouldn't. I unblocked my phone just to clear the messages. There were dozens. "Mom, are you done throwing your tantrum? Sophia needs you to go dress shopping with her on Saturday. She needs someone to hold her purse and take pictures." I stared at the text. They didn't even realize what they had done. They just expected me to fall back in line, to resume my position as the assistant. I typed a reply. My hands shook, but I hit send. "No, I'm busy planning my own wedding. Sophia can hold her own purse." I blocked her again. It felt terrifying, but it also felt good. However, the peace didn't last long. A week later, Michael came home with a strange look on his face. He was holding his laptop. "Mila," he said seriously, "you need to see this." "What is it?" "I was looking for some old tax documents in my email, and I found a thread forwarded from your dad. I don't think he meant to include me on the CC line, or maybe he just forgot." He turned the laptop toward me. It was an email chain between my father and Blake's father, Mr. Harrison. I read the subject line, "Ray, wedding contributions." My eyes scanned the text. My father had written, "Don't worry, Bill. We are fully committed to making this a grand event. In addition to the $50,000 we've already allocated for the venue, I will be transferring another $48,000 to cover the catering and the band next month." I gasped. $48,000? He doesn't have that kind of money. He just told us he barely had the 50. "Read the next line," Michael said grimly. I looked down. "I'm just waiting for some funds to clear from a family trust. Mila has agreed to sign over her portion to ensure Sophia's day is perfect." I dropped the laptop. "What?" I screamed. "What trust? I don't have a trust, and I never agreed to sign anything." "Exactly," Michael said. "He's lying to the Harrisons to impress them. He's promising money he doesn't have, and he's using your name to buy time." "He's going to ask me for money," I realized. The horror washed over me. He's going to come to me and demand I take out a loan, or he's going to try to steal my identity. It's not just betrayal anymore, Mila, Michael said, his voice cold and hard. This is exploitation. They aren't just ignoring you, they are using you as a financial backup plan for Sophia's fantasy life. I stood up. I walked to the window. I looked at the city below. I had spent my whole life trying to be good, trying to be worthy. But to them, I wasn't a daughter, I was a resource. I was fuel to be burned so Sophia could shine. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was a quiet, permanent break. I turned to Michael. My face was dry. I wasn't crying anymore. Print it, I said. What? Print the emails, I said. And get your coat. I'm done being the victim. The apartment was quiet, but inside my head it was screaming. I sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the laptop screen until my eyes burned. The blue light from the monitor was the only thing illuminating the room. Michael stood behind me, his hand resting heavy and warm on my shoulder, but I felt cold. I felt a deep, freezing chill that started in my chest and spread all the way to my fingertips. Read it again, I whispered. Maybe we misunderstood. We didn't misunderstand, Mila, Michael said. His voice was low, vibrating with a suppressed anger I had rarely heard from him. It's black and white, it's right there. I leaned in. My cursor hovered over the email chain. It was a forwarded thread, something my father had likely sent to Michael by accident when trying to attach a tax document earlier in the week. He was so bad with technology. He was always clicking reply all or attaching the wrong files. For years, we laughed about it. We used to say, oh, that's just Dad. Now, his incompetence had revealed his malice. The email was dated 3 days ago. It was addressed to William Harrison, Blake's father. The subject line read, Ray, wedding catering and band expenses. Bill, my father wrote, I completely understand your concerns about the deposit deadlines. I want to assure you that the Carter family is fully committed to this event. We want Sophia to have the best, just as you do. Regarding the outstanding balance of $48,000 for the premium catering package and the live orchestra, please consider it handled. We are just waiting for a family trust distribution to clear. My eldest daughter, Mila, has agreed to sign over her portion of the trust to ensure her sister's day is perfect. The funds will be with you by next Friday. I read the words family trust over and over again. I don't have a trust, I said. My voice sounded hollow. We don't have trusts. We aren't that kind of family. We grew up clipping coupons, Michael. Dad drove a used sedan for 10 years. Where did he come up with a trust? He made it up, Michael said. He pulled up a chair and sat next to me. He is lying to the Harrisons because he is ashamed. Blake's family is wealthy. They have old money. Your dad is trying to play at their level and he's drowning. He promised them a wedding he couldn't afford. But why me? I asked, turning to look at him. Why use my name? Why say Mila agreed? Michael took my hands. His grip was tight. Because he needs a scapegoat, Mila. Think about it. He promised the money by Friday. He doesn't have $48,000. So when Friday comes and the money isn't there, what is he going to say? I felt the realization hit me like a physical blow to the stomach. He's going to say I refused to sign. Exactly, Michael said. He's going to tell the Harrisons, I'm so sorry, Bill. I wanted to pay, but Mila is being difficult. Mila is holding the money hostage because she's jealous of Sophia. He is going to paint you as the villain to save his own face. I pulled my hands away and stood up. I walked to the window. We lived on the 4th floor. I looked down at the streetlights reflecting on the wet pavement. It wasn't enough that they took my $25,000. It wasn't enough that they ignored my engagement. It wasn't enough that they humiliated me at dinner. Now, they were going to destroy my reputation. They were going to ruin my name in our town just to cover up their own lies. He called me yesterday, I said, remembering the brief, strange conversation. Dad called me while I was at work. He asked about my credit score. Your credit score? Yeah. He asked if I had kept it above 750. I said yes. I was proud of it. I thought, God, I was so stupid. I thought maybe he was asking because he wanted to co-sign a loan for us. For our wedding, I laughed, but it was a bitter, jagged sound. He wasn't checking for you, Michael said softly. He was checking to see if you were a viable debtor. He wants me to take out a loan, I realized. He's going to corner me. He's going to demand I take out $48,000 in debt to make his lie to the Harrisons true. It's not just betrayal, Mila, Michael said. This is financial abuse. They look at you and they don't see a daughter. They see a resource. They see a bank account. I felt something snap inside me. For 28 years, I had tried to be the good girl. I had tried to be the easy child. I thought if I gave enough, if I worked hard enough, if I stayed quiet enough, they would eventually love me. I thought love was a transaction, that I could buy their affection with my obedience. But you can't buy what isn't for sale. I'm done, I said. The tears didn't come. I expected them to, but my eyes were dry. My heart wasn't breaking anymore, it was hardening. It was turning into something sharp and protective. What do you want to do? Michael asked. Print it, I said. Print every single email. Print the bank statements showing the withdrawal of my wedding fund. Print the text messages where Sophia called me selfish. Michael stood up and walked to the printer. And then we wait, I said. We don't tell them we know, we let them come to us. We let them dig the hole a little deeper. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying my entire childhood. I remembered every birthday I was forgotten. Every graduation where they showed up late. Every time they told me to be the bigger person. I was done being the bigger person. I was ready to be the person who fought back. The next 3 days were a game of silence. My phone blew up. Calls from Mom, calls from Dad, texts from Sophia. Dad, Mila, pick up. It's urgent family business. Mom, stop being childish. We need to talk to you immediately. Sophia, you are ruining everything. Call Dad back right now. I didn't answer. I went to work. I focused on my patients. I changed bedpans, I administered medication, I held the hands of people who were actually in pain. It gave me perspective. My family's drama was a luxury. It was a vanity project gone wrong. On Thursday, the silence broke. I was at the nurse's station, filing charts. It was a busy afternoon. The hospital lobby was crowded with visitors. I was tired, but it was a good tired. Then I heard the voice. I need to see her, she is my daughter, you can't stop me. My spine went rigid. I knew that voice. It was the voice that had critiqued my hair, my clothes, and my choices for my entire life. I looked up. My mother was standing at the reception desk, arguing with the security guard. She looked frantic. Her usually perfect hair was windblown. Her face was flushed red. She wasn't wearing her usual church lady's smile. She looked desperate. Ma'am, you need a visitor pass, the guard was saying. Mila, she screamed when she saw me. She waved her hand frantically. Mila, get over here. The other nurses stopped talking. Dr. Evans looked up from his computer. Patients in the waiting room turned to stare. I felt a flush of heat rise up my neck. Humiliation. She was bringing her circus into my sanctuary. This was the one place where I was respected. The one place where I was Nurse Carter, the competent professional, not Mila the disappointment. I put my pen down. I took a deep breath. It's okay, Jerry, I called out to the guard. I'll handle it. I walked over to the lobby. I didn't rush. I walked with a slow, deliberate pace. I stopped 3 feet away from her. Mom, I said. My voice was calm, almost robotic. You cannot come here and scream. This is a hospital. People are sick. I wouldn't have to come here if you answered your phone, she hissed. She reached out and grabbed my forearm. Her fingernails dug into my skin. Your father is having a breakdown. The deadline is tomorrow. We need the money, Mila. I looked at her hand on my arm. I looked at her face. There was no love there. There was only panic and entitlement. I don't have $48,000, Mom, I said. I never did. We know that, she whispered, leaning in close. But Dad found a lender, a private lender. He needs a cosigner with perfect credit. All you have to do is sign the paper. It will take 5 minutes. We will make the payments. I promise. I stared at her in disbelief. You want me to take on $50,000 of debt, I said slowly, for a party, for a wedding that isn't even mine. It's not just a party, she snapped. It's your sister's future. It's our reputation. The Harrisons are expecting this money. If we don't pay, they'll cancel the wedding. Do you want that on your conscience? Do you want to be the reason Sophia is humiliated? I'm not the reason, I said. You are. You and Dad, you promised money you didn't have. We did it for the family, she cried out. She was getting louder again. We did it to give Sophia the life she deserves. Why can't you understand that? Why do you have to be so selfish? Selfish. The word hung in the air. I worked double shifts for 3 years to save my wedding fund, I said quietly. You stole it. You gave it to her. And now you want me to mortgage my future to pay for the rest of it. We fed you, she screamed. We clothed you. We put a roof over your head. You owe us. The lobby was silent now. Everyone was watching. I looked at this woman. I realized I didn't know her. Or maybe I did know her, and I just hadn't wanted to admit who she was. She was a bully. I don't owe you anything, I said. My voice was steady. It surprised me. I didn't ask to be born, Mom. Feeding me was your legal obligation, not a loan I have to repay with my sanity. She stepped back, shocked. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. If you don't sign that paper, she said, her voice dropping to a venomous threat, you are dead to us. Do you hear me? You are not my daughter. I will cut you off completely. I felt a strange lightness in my chest. The weight that had been pressing on me for 20 years suddenly lifted. You can't cut me off, Mom, I said. Because I'm leaving. I turned to the security guard. Jerry, I said, this woman is harassing me. Please escort her out. Jerry stepped forward, his face stern. Ma'am, you need to leave, now. My mother looked at Jerry. She looked at me. She looked at the staring crowd. The shame finally hit her. She cared more about the strangers watching than she did about her own daughter. You'll regret this, she spat at me. When you need us, we won't be there. I've needed you my whole life, I said, and you were never there. She turned and marched out the automatic doors. I watched her get into her car and drive away. I stood there for a long moment. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't crying. Dr. Evans walked up to me. Mila, take a break, go to the break room. I'm okay, I said, and I meant it. I'm really okay. I went back to work. I finished my shift. And when I walked out to my car that evening, I blocked every single number associated with the Carter family. The weekend passed in a blur of silence. I expected them to come to my apartment, but they didn't. They were too busy scrambling. Without my credit score, they had no way to get the loan. The Friday deadline had passed. The explosion happened on Tuesday. I was making dinner with Michael tacos, simple and messy, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Please come to the house. The Harrisons are here. We need to clear up a misunderstanding. If you have a shred of decency left, come help us. Dad, I showed the phone to Michael. He's desperate, Michael said, chopping a tomato. The lies have caught up to him. The Harrisons probably demanded proof of the transfer. Should we go? I asked. Michael wiped his hands on a towel. He looked at me seriously. Do you want to go? Do you want closure? Or do you want to stay here and eat tacos? I thought about it. If I stayed, I would always wonder what happened. I would always wonder if they managed to spin the story to make me the villain. I want to go, I said. I want to finish this. I want to make sure the truth is told. Then let's go, Michael said. Grab the folder. We drove to my parents' house. It was a 20-minute drive, but it felt like hours. The house was lit up like a Christmas tree. Every light was on. The driveway was packed. My dad's sedan, my mom's SUV, Sophia's little convertible, and a massive black luxury car that belonged to Blake's parents. We walked up the path. I remembered walking up this path as a child, afraid to go inside because I had muddy shoes. I remembered walking up this path with my report cards, hoping for praise. Now, I was walking up this path to burn the bridge. We didn't knock. We walked right in. The living room was a scene of chaos. My mother was on the sofa, sobbing loudly into a tissue. Sophia was standing by the window, her arms crossed, looking furious and terrified. My father was standing in the middle of the room, sweating through his shirt. Blake Harrison was sitting in the armchair, looking down at his shoes. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, were standing like statues. They radiated cold anger. Finally, Sophia screamed when she saw me. Tell them you just forgot to go to the bank." I stopped in the doorway. Michael stood beside me, holding the folder of emails. "There was nothing to forget, Sophia," I said calmly. "Don't lie," my dad shouted. He stepped toward me, his eyes wild. "Mila, stop playing games. Just tell Mr. Harrison that there was a delay with the trust distribution. Tell him the money is coming." He was actually doing it. He was trying to force me to lie to my face. Mr. Harrison turned to look at me. He was a formidable man. "Mila, is this true? Is the money on its way?" I looked at my father. He was begging me with his eyes. "Save me. Save me one last time," but I wasn't his savior. I was his daughter, and he had thrown me away. "No," I said clearly. "There is no money coming. There never was." "She's lying," Mom wailed from the couch. "She's just jealous." Michael stepped forward. He didn't yell. He didn't make a scene. He simply placed the folder on the coffee table in front of Mr. Harrison. "Mr. Harrison," Michael said, "these are the emails Robert sent you claiming Mila had a trust fund. And these are Mila's bank statements. She does not have a trust. She works for a living. In fact, Robert took $25,000 of Mila's personal savings, money she earned herself, just to pay your venue deposit." The room went deadly silent. The only sound was my mother's jagged breathing. Mr. Harrison picked up the folder. He opened it. He read the emails. He looked at the bank statements. He closed the folder. He turned to my father. "Robert," Mr. Harrison said. His voice was quiet, which made it terrifying. "You told me you had the funds. You told me your daughter was contributing. You lied." I was going to pay it back," Dad stammered. "I just needed time. It was a cash flow issue." "It's fraud," Mrs. Harrison said. She looked at my mother with pure disgust. "You people are frauds." She turned to Sophia. "And you, did you know about this?" "No," Sophia screamed. "I didn't know. They told me it was handled. I'm the victim here." "You're not a victim," Blake said. Everyone turned to look at him. He stood up. He looked tired. "You knew, Sophia," Blake said. "You told me last week that your dad was moving money around. You knew they were struggling, and you still demanded the imported orchids. You still demanded the 10-tier cake." "Blake, baby, don't say that," Sophia pleaded, reaching for him. He stepped back. "I can't do this. I can't marry into this mess. If you can lie about money like this, what else are you lying about?" "Blake, please," Sophia shrieked. "Mom, Dad, let's go," Blake said. The Harrisons walked toward the door. My father tried to block them. "Bill, please, we can work this out." "Get out of my way, Robert," Mr. Harrison said, "or I will call the police and report you for attempted fraud." My father stepped aside. The front door slammed. The silence that followed was heavy. It was the sound of a bomb having just gone off. Sophia turned to me. Her face was twisted into a mask of pure hate. "I hate you," she screamed. "You ruined my life. You jealous, ugly bitch." My mother looked up from the couch. "Get out," she whispered. "Get out of my house." I looked at them. I looked at the wreckage of their vanity. "I'm leaving," I said, "and I'm taking my life back." I grabbed Michael's hand. "Let's go." We walked out into the cool night air. I took a deep breath. It smelled like rain and freedom. The fallout was swift and brutal. Sophia's wedding was officially canceled the next morning. The venue refused to refund the deposit, my $25,000. It was gone. I would never see that money again. At first, the thought of it made me sick. That was 3 years of my life. That was overtime shifts and missed holidays. But Michael told me something that changed my perspective. "Think of it as a settlement," he said. "You paid 25 grand to sever ties with a toxic corporation. It was the price of your freedom." He was right. We moved apartments a month later. We moved to a different part of the city, closer to the lake. We didn't tell my parents our new address. I changed my phone number. I changed my email. Planning our wedding was a completely different experience. We didn't have a budget for a society event. We didn't have thousands of dollars for flowers. "What do we actually want?" I asked Michael one night. "I want good food," he said. "I want music, and I want to be married to you." "Me too," I said, so that's what we did. We rented the barn. It wasn't the luxury rustic venue Sophia had mocked. It was a real barn on a farm owned by a friend of a friend. It cost $500 to rent for the day. We bought flowers from the wholesale market at 5 a.m. the day before, buckets of sunflowers and daisies. My bridesmaids, my friends from nursing school, sat on my living room floor drinking wine and arranging them into mason jars. We hired the barbecue truck Michael found. Pulled pork, mac and cheese, cornbread. There was no 10-tier cake. There were 50 cupcakes baked by Michael's mom. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up without an alarm. The sun was streaming through the window. I didn't have a team of makeup artists. I did my own makeup in the bathroom mirror. I put on my dress. It was a sample sale dress I found for $300. It needed a little hemming, which I did myself. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a victim. I didn't see the forgotten daughter. I saw a woman who had saved herself. The ceremony was outside, under an old oak tree. As I walked down the aisle, I scanned the crowd. I saw Michael's parents, beaming with pride. I saw my coworkers. I saw our friends. There were 2 empty seats in the front row. I had reserved them for my parents, just in case, but they remained empty. I paused for a fleeting second. I felt a pang of grief. Not for the parents I had, but for the parents I wished I had. I grieved the idea of a mother who helped me with my veil. I grieved the idea of a father who walked me down the aisle. But then I looked up. Michael was standing there. He was wiping a tear from his eye. He looked at me with such total, overwhelming love that the grief vanished. I walked the rest of the way alone. I didn't need anyone to give me away. I was giving myself to this new life. We said our vows, they were simple. "I promise to see you," Michael said. "I promise to hear you. I promise that in this family you will never be second best." We danced until midnight. We laughed until our faces hurt. It was messy and imperfect and absolutely wonderful. At the end of the night, we sat on a hay bale watching the fireflies. Best wedding ever, Michael said, holding a half-eaten cupcake. Yeah, I said. It really was. I realized then that Sophia's dream wedding would have been a performance. Mine was a celebration. Time has a way of revealing the truth. 3 months after our wedding, life was peaceful. We were saving up for a house. We were happy. I was at the grocery store picking out apples when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jessica, a girl I went to high school with who was still friends with Sophia on social media. Hey Mila, the text read. I know you don't talk to them anymore, but I thought you should see this. Attached was a screenshot of Sophia's Instagram. The glamorous photos were gone. The pictures of the ring, the dress, the parties, all deleted. Her most recent post was a photo of her in a small, cramped apartment. The caption was a long, rambling rant about fake friends and men who can't handle strong women. Jessica sent a second text. Rumor is Blake broke up with her for good. He's dating a teacher now. His parents threatened to cut him out of the will if he married into your family. Sophia is working as a receptionist at a car wash. And your parents. I heard the bank is foreclosing on the house. I stared at the phone. I felt a strange sensation. It wasn't joy. I didn't feel happy that they were suffering. I wasn't sadistic, but I felt vindicated. My parents had bet everything on Sophia. They had sacrificed my happiness, my money, and my trust to elevate her. They had gambled on her marrying rich to save them all. And they lost. They had pushed too hard. Their greed had been too obvious. If they had just been honest, if they had just treated me with basic respect, we could have all been okay. I would have helped them if they had asked nicely. I would have been there. But they chose to steal instead of ask. I put the phone in my pocket. I didn't reply to Jessica. I didn't need to gossip. I finished my shopping. I bought Michael's favorite ice cream. I walked out to the parking lot. The air was crisp. It was autumn now. The leaves were changing color. I got into my car, my paid-off, reliable car. I drove to the apartment I shared with the man who loved me. I thought about my parents sitting in their big, empty house, waiting for the bank to take it. I thought about Sophia, alone in her small apartment, finally having to work for the first time in her life. They were living the reality they had created, and I was living mine. I wasn't the forgotten daughter anymore. I was just Mila. And that was enough. If you are reading this story and you see yourself in my shoes, if you are the child who is always asked to give but never receives, if you are the responsible one who cleans up the messes of the golden child, I want you to know something. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to close your wallet. You are allowed to block their numbers. You are allowed to be happy without them. They will call you selfish. They will call you ungrateful. They will try to destroy your reputation. Let them, because on the other side of that guilt is freedom. On the other side of that pain is a life where you are the main character, not the supporting actor. Don't let them steal your future like they stole your past. Have you ever had to cut off a toxic family member to save yourself? Tell me your story.